Hello, hello, hello. So today we are going to dive into the subject of talking to the dead. And I hope to help you see that you might already be getting messages from the other side. Chances are you have been and you maybe didn't realize it, or you just shrugged it off as some weird thing that made no sense to you. I know that's what I thought way back when I was getting ready to be married for the first time. And I was in about 26, 27, I can't remember now. But I was getting ready in the upstairs bedroom of my soon to be in law's house. There was nobody on the upper floor because I was alone in this room. And I heard this voice say, "You're making a mistake." And I looked around and I knew nobody was there, completely alone in the upstairs. And I just shrugged it off. I just shrugged it off, didn't know what to do with that. Didn't scare me, I just didn't know where that came from. It was an audible voice, female, as I recall, and it simply said, "You're making a mistake." Right? So, fast forward a few months, and I began to realize that I indeed had made a mistake. I wasn't willing to take that in at the time. Years later, when I opened up to the other side and I began communicating with my guides, and they said, "Yes, you were being given the option, you were getting given the warning." But notice that the voice never told me what to do. It didn't say, "Don't get married." It didn't say, "Call off the wedding." All it said was, "You're making a mistake." This is how the other side works. Whether that's a loved one who's talking to us, or a guide, or even our higher self, our soul, all those beings and parts of us do communicate. But guides do not declare, they don't dictate, they just do what their title conveys. Yeah? They guide. They merely point out things like, "This may not work out for you," or "This person isn't who you think they are," or in this case, "You're making a mistake." I'm grateful that they even said that to me because it planted a seed, which is what they said they were attempting to do. If I wasn't going to, make a decision in that moment, they're at least going to plant the seed so that I would have this awareness. And that's all they do. Even our loved ones in spirit, that's all they can do is say, "Well, I'm just going to plant the thought, the idea." But they know, whether it's a guide or a loved one, that we're here to live our life. And they really don't want to dictate that. They know that's not their job. Even a partner or another family member or loved one in spirit, they know because they see the bigger picture as the soul that they are, and they realize, I'm not here to dictate her life to her, but I do want to guide her, I do want to help her, I do want to support. Now, that said, spirit can actually intervene and in a way, take over. And I've heard many people say that they've had experiences like that where they felt this force come over them and made them stop, or in some cases, this happened to me, where my foot slammed on the brake and I didn't know why, because I didn't see anything around me. And yet, as soon as I hit the brake, sure enough, this car ran a stop sign. I didn't even see the car coming. It just came out of the blue and ran the stop sign. It would have literally smashed my side of the car. Like, I could have been killed because it was going really fast. And I've been in a car with a friend who the same thing happened. She pulls into the intersection on the green light. All of a sudden, she stops. She's not even fully in the intersection. She stops, and I turn to her about to say, "Why did you stop?" when this car ran the stoplight. And we were in a tiny Miata convertible. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's really small, and the top was down, and I know we would have been seriously injured because the car was speeding along this road. And again, I asked her later, I said, What happened? Why did you stop?" She goes, "I don't know." She said, "I just felt this force come over me, and she stopped. And Spirit has told me this happens time and time again to people. If that's ever happened to you, let us know in the comments, because I've talked to plenty of people who said they could feel that they had an intervention, that something stopped whatever terrible thing was about to happen from happening. Okay. That is how the other side helps us. Now, again, we can't know, was that a guide? Was that an angel? Was that our loved one? All I can tell you is when Alan crossed over and came back to me, he said, quite often it can be a loved one. It's not always your guides or your guardian angel, although they are there too. He says, this is what he said to me, makes sense to me. If that person is, especially if they're actively connecting with their loved one on the other side, whether, again, that's a parent, child, another family member, partner, it doesn't matter. But if they're actively connecting or attempting to, okay, then that loved one is, generally speaking, there's always exception. Generally speaking, they're very much like in a role of protector. They're very much going to be kind of the first one to take action. Or also, he said to me that spirit works together. So it's not like it's one or the other. It can be like your whole team, and your loved ones can be and often are part of your own, what we call spirit team. Okay, so they're there to support you. And I encourage you to ask them to help you. Guides and angels are just sitting around twiddling their thumbs. They can't help us unless we call out to them, because they cannot take over. They have to respect our free will. That's why that voice said to me, you're making a mistake. They were not telling me what to do. They were pointing out a truth to me that I needed to know. You're making a mistake. And later, again, when I asked them, they said, we knew that if you continued in that marriage, there was a chance that you were going to kind of derail your life plan, which was eventually to open up spiritually, to become a channel, to do readings, to meet Alan, because, years later I met him. I think that was about, would have been about 8 years later, 8 or 10 years later, I would have met him. Okay. And they knew that. And while I have free will to change my mind, and I could have, they said their job was just to point out, hey, you're making a mistake here. You sure you want to make that mistake? That's it. And if I had said, heck, I want to make the mistake, I want to do that, fine. Their job was just to point it out to me so that I would have that information, right? Now, they're saying to me, right, and Spirit's saying to me right now, they could come through to me in that moment because I was happy, I was getting married, and this was my childhood sweetheart. And in my view at the time, I thought, well, I love him. I realized now I wasn't really in love with him. He just checked all the boxes, he was a great guy. He was very very gifted in so many ways. He's really creative. He could cook. He loved dancing. He was funny, very intelligent. He was just a great person. So from my human perspective, it's like I wanted him to be the one because he's just fabulous guy and good looking, all that. Again, all the boxes, right? The only box he didn't check was I wasn't really in love with him. And of course, that's the critical one, right? And that's the one that you can't control. So they were just telling me, you're making a mistake, because if I had stayed in that marriage, chances are would have gotten pregnant maybe, or would have had a kid, and it would have devastated him if we gotten divorced. I know that because he really wanted children. And so that would have just torn him apart. That would have been worse. It would have made the first mistake even worse. And I know now that I wasn't really meant to have a child until I met Alan. So, but that's a whole other story. But I just want to explain to you that you are psychic, okay? We are all born psychic. The word psychic comes from the Greek word psyche, right? That means the soul or spirit that occupies the body. So that's why you're psychic. You cannot not be. It's part of being the soul that you are, right? You've been lied to, believing that this reality is all there is, when you're an eternal soul and you are psychic, meaning you can communicate with your soul and with the souls of others. And you certainly can communicate with the soul of someone who's crossed over, because you remain a soul and a spirit, whether you're in a body or on the other side. Of course, you're completely your soul, your spirit. But even when you're in a body, you're a spirit. You just don't understand that. You just think that you're just this ordinary person and that these senses, 5 senses, are you have. No, 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 no. You have this awareness that can reach through time and space and connect to the other side. So talking to the dead, and I only use that word because people are actually searching on that term, right? Because they don't understand that there is no death and nobody really dies. So we use the word dead only so that people understand and what we're talking about. And then we explain they're not dead. Okay, you can't die. You're a consciousness. You're a soul. You're a spirit that is not physical. That this is a temporary structure. It's really like the car you're driving, right? It's a vehicle, a vessel. It's not you. Yes, it's this amazing part of you for the time that you're in a body, but it's temporary. It's going to fall away. It's going to die at some point, but not your spirit, not your psyche. You're going to continue on just as your loved ones have. Right? So we know that after death communication is happening. As I've said before, half the population of the US have reported some form of after death communication or contact, whether that was in a dream. Dream visitations are quite common. Some people see spirit, like they see their loved one, they've reported that, or my loved one, they were there and they hugged me, I felt their kiss, or I feel their touch. And that has happened again, to half the population. This is just in the US. And these are just the people who reported it according to studies. So you know that there are way more people than that, because most people are not going to admit to that. Most people are not going to come forward and say that. So I think we can really stretch that a little bit and say probably 75% of the population have had some form of after death contact. But because our world, especially in the modern world, right, the Western world, so to speak, doesn't want to get on board with that, doesn't want to go there. It just does not jive with the belief system of the masses. Okay. So if you're wanting to explore after death communication, you need to be willing to go on a limb and not care what everyone else thinks. You need to be a bit of a rebel, if you will, and say, I'm going to chart my own course. I want to understand who I am first, as that I'm a spirit. And I then understand that my loved one is a spirit. Obviously, they're not a body anymore. They're a spirit. So we have to understand a few things here, though, when we're talking about this communication through the veil. And one of the things is that really, for the best results, that psychic development, again, psyche is of the soul, right? So you could say soul development, psychic soul development, needs to be paired with personal development. Now, what do I mean by that? Personal development is about working through your own issues, your fears, your limiting beliefs, your biases. Part of spiritual growth is actually evaluating what you have been programmed to believe, because those beliefs, generally speaking, were not ones that you freely took on. They were ones that you were given or allowed to be programmed by your parents, by society, by your teachers, by your friends, by social media, maybe. You decided you would just accept that, and some of it was arbitrary, but not many of your beliefs were done thoughtfully. Were done without some reflection and weighing it out. Like, do I really believe that? Do I really believe that the physical world is all there is? Do I really believe, does this feel true to the core of me? Most importantly, does it resonate with my heart? Okay, not your head, because your head can lie. Your head can take any idea and distort it, turn it around, like the best defense lawyer, right? Like in those movies where the attorney is taking the facts and turning it into a pretzel and making it something else. Well, that's what the mind can do. It's brilliant at that. But your heart is the seat of your soul, and your heart knows the resonance of truth. So, in order to spiritually awaken and therefore then to connect and communicate with a loved one through the veil, you got to find a way to tap into your heart. And if your heart has been shut down because maybe you've been abused, or maybe you've been hurt, or maybe you're just cynical about the world, you got to find a way to activate that first. Because if you're processing everything up here, you're only half a person. You're working with only half of your apparatus. Your heart, again, is the seat of your soul and is the part of you that can perceive the truth from that soul level, not here. Here, you can convince yourself of anything. You really can. You can argue both sides of a debate, right? Anyone who's familiar with debating understands that. I mean, I was in high school, was challenged to be part of this debate because they said they knew that I could argue for both sides of the question, of the topic. That's what the mind can do. Just say, well, let me argue this part and then I'll argue that side. It's like, what's really the truth when both sides, you know, can argue for their part, and something like spirit, spiritual world, is not something you can evaluate or quantify in the material world. How can the physical world really prove the non-physical world? You can't. You can't. But you can use some logic here in the sense of evaluating your own experience. I think this is what the world has gotten away from, especially in modern society. We don't honor our own experiences. We just look to authority figures. Or maybe we even since we're on YouTube, look on YouTube and say, well, let me find somebody who's talking about this, and I'll go believe what she or he says. That's not the way, folks. That's not the path to freedom. That's certainly not the path to spiritual awakening. That's the path to just giving your power over to somebody else, rather than the powers that be giving it over to some other spiritual guru or person you think is a master and saying, well, I won't have to figure this out. I'll just do what they tell me to do. That's not what we're here for. This is a time of personal responsibility, of people saying, I'm going to find out what my soul's truth is. And if somebody else is speaking a truth that resonates with my soul, great. I will look at that. But the minute it doesn't resonate, I'm going to go back to my heart's truth and not necessarily judge that person. It just means, okay, I'm not in resonance anymore, because nobody is here to be really the be all and end all for everything. Come on, it just isn't. The closer you look at spiritual teachers, you'll see that they're flawed people. We all are. You cannot help but be when you're in a body. You can be your best medium for loved ones on the other side because of the bonds of love that you share. Okay, that's just the truth. And the veil's going to keep thinning, folks, as more people focus on spiritual and personal growth. They're linked. They're linked. When you spiritually grow, You are helping the veil to thin because you're raising your vibration. So when you raise your vibration, you get closer to the threshold between this reality and the other side. That's just physics. And as more people do that, what happens? What happens? A rising tide lifts all boats. So everybody's like rising up a little bit because others are doing that. We're all connected to each other, whether you like it or not. Maybe you don't want to be, but you are. You can't help but be because there's only one of us. We're all one soul. Okay? And I want to be clear that our loved ones want to help us, and they can help us through what we call, and they're telling me right now what they call too, are the hard times that we're in. And these are hard times. There's no way else to describe it. These are challenging times. And we're not talking fear. We're talking about this so that you will understand the significance and importance of you working on your spiritual growth and rising up to be who you truly are, which your loved ones can help you do, and your guides and angels, right? Everything you do for that makes a difference in your life, in the lives of those around you, whether you have children or other loved ones and family members or your community, because again, we're all one. That makes a huge difference. You working on raising your vibration is the way you serve, is the way you help everyone. You cannot substitute action for that, for your raising your consciousness. No amount of action that somebody takes, I don't care if they're, I'm not putting anybody down. I don't care if they're Elon Musk or Bill Gates. I don't care who they are. No amount of action somebody takes, no amount of wealth that somebody amasses, nothing that you physically do compares to your vibration. There are lots of people taking massive action, making a lot of things happen, and their vibration is in the toilet, maybe. And they're not having the impact that they may think they're having. And they'll understand it when they get to the other side. You, my friend, have the power not only to connect to your loved one on the other side, if you have no fear, if you let go of your disbelief and doubt, and you don't have set expectations, you can do this. Those three things are what's required. They're simple, but for a lot of people, they're not easy. But that is the formula. That is the formula. It's let go of fear, let go of disbelief and doubt, have no expectation about how the communication, the contact is going to unfold. Hold steady with that. And the other side will knock itself out to prove that they're there with you. But you got to believe. And you're living in a cynical world during a challenging time. Well, I don't want to say there's more negativity than ever before, because Spirit says, okay, they're saying to me, that's not true. It's just that because we're all plugged into the internet, we all know about it. That's the problem. If you didn't have that connection and lived in your world without social media, totally different story. You'd be bopping along thinking everything's fine in your world because you're not hearing all the negative crap that's being spewed by the media, which, yes, they do want to keep us oppressed emotionally. I'm not one for conspiracy theories. I don't go into that. Don't get me wrong. Alan has said to me, there are conspiracies, okay, but don't worry about that. It's your reaction to that really matters, and if you're guided, which you are, and you hone that guidance, which you can sail through all that crap. But don't go down that rabbit hole. Don't go down the whole rabbit hole of conspiracy theory, because then you are now a puppet to all these different groups. And some of the conspiracy theories they're conflicting. They're actually actively trying to confuse everybody. So that's why we say to hone your communication with your loved one on the other side and your guides and angels. They're all in the same boat as far as we're concerned. They're all working for your benefit. They're trying to help you. Okay, they are. And before we go any further, I just want to give a plug for thank you for subscribing to our channel, because we're trying to teach whoever we can teach, to let them know that there is no death and you can stay connected through the veil. And today is March 23rd, 2024. And by the end of this month, after we're teaching a master class about spirit communication, we are going to make our teachings available by donation. So if you're watching this months later, years later, whatever, we will have a link down below and you can work with us. Because one thing I do understand now is this whole journey of connecting through the veil, it's not about, you can't just take a course. You can't just take a mediumship training. I know mediumship's really popular right now. A lot of people are taking those trainings, but a lot of them are not necessarily making contact. Even mediums themselves don't always make contact with their loved ones on the other side for various reasons. And so what I have come to understand by working through my own beliefs and working with other people is that you need to be part of a community. You need to have the support of others going through the same journey, because this experience is so unique that very, very few people have others around them who understand and will support them. And if you don't have support, it's easy to just give up. And it breaks my heart when I see people who have joined us for a while and then they just give up, or they just get busy and they forget about it, or maybe this wasn't for them. Maybe connecting with their loved one wasn't really part of their soul's journey, which is fine too. But if it is part of your journey, you will know it, because you'll feel it in your heart. You'll feel it in your heart. Oh, Alan's saying to me right now, some of those people, they weren't feeling it in their heart. They were listening to their head. And so they just let their conscious mind take them away from their efforts of connecting through the veil. Because the thing is, and I know a lot of people that are in our Supernatural Love Academy right now, they can understand this, that as you progress, your ego, physical mind starts to just throw a tantrum a little bit and starts to tell you, you can't do this, like, who do you are? Like, it throws a lot of doubt. It brings up fear again, right? What did we say? You've got to conquer that fear, the doubt, and let go of expectations. Well, all that stuff starts to bubble up again as you're making progress. You would think that it would be the opposite. But what I know from what Spirit has said and what I've observed with students is that no, it gets louder, because you're on the brink of massive change. And the physical conscious mind is terrified that it's going to be killed. Now, you're not going to kill it. You can't, because you need that part of you. But it's afraid that you're going to push it aside, and it wants to be in control. And negative beliefs work hard to hang on to you. Okay, that it's programmed for survival. That's why it tells you you can't do this. This is wrong. It makes you feel like scared, because it's transmitting that fear, because it wants you to quit. It wants you to go back to what it's familiar with. It wants you to grieve, even if it's for the rest of your life, because that, at least, it knows what it is. That loss and grief is what your physical mind understands, because that's what mass consciousness believes. And the physical mind accepts what the mass consciousness believes. It's been programmed from that. So if you want not just maybe one bit of communication through the veil, but you want this on an ongoing level. You want contact with a partner or loved one continually. You got to understand what's going on, and you got to be strong. And Alan is saying right now to me, you kind of got to be a badass about this. Is love going to run your life, or is fear? Is your ego, physical mind going to drive the bus? Or are you going to kick it to the back of the bus and say, no, my higher self, the unconditional love that I am, that I have for my partner and my family and all my loved ones and friends, that's going to lead the way. Why do you think the world is in such chaos right now? The light and the love are at odds with the darkness. Darkness is simply unconscious, being unconscious. Someone or something that's in the dark is not aware that it is love, that it is light, and it's rejecting that. Okay, it's living in denial of that. So there is, in a sense, a battle between the light and the dark, love and fear. And you and I are feeling the polarization of that. We're feeling the pull of that. You're feeling like, oh, which way to go? Like 1 minute, my physical mind is giving me doubts and worries about things that I thought I had dealt with. This is what's happening to me too. But every bit is being illuminated for you and me to look at and say, I don't want that. I'm choosing love. I'm choosing faith. I'm choosing to be in the light. And I don't care what anybody else is doing. I don't care what anybody else says, because I can read this from my heart, my soul, and I know this is my path. I know this is my truth. And that's all that matters. And I let everybody else have their own journey. I don't worry about them. I bless them. Even as they condemn me, I bless them, because words have no sway over me. I am not willing to give up my connection to my own soul, the love that I am, that I will always be. And I'm certainly not going to give up my connection to my loved one through the veil, who is radiating unconditional love to me. So as tough as it might be, I'm going to use this relationship that is eternal, that is divine, that is holy, that cannot be destroyed, just as I cannot be destroyed. And I'm going to let this love lead the way. And anything else that happens is no big deal. Like, it's just drama. It's just the illusion of this world, which is created by the spiritual world. Okay. So they do want to help us. And remember, the death of a loved one can be catalysts for spiritual growth. It's happened for many of you. That's why someone passed away that you loved so much, and it made you question, is there life after death? Is this all there is? Am I going to see them again? Can I communicate with them? Yes, you can, because they didn't go anywhere. And it's not as difficult as you may think. It isn't. But you got to kick that fear to the curb. You got to get rid of your doubts and disbeliefs. You got to have the intention to connect, but have no expectation of how that's going to show up. And I know that that's the challenge, because you live in a world where fear gets the headlines and skepticism kind of rules the day. that people are very fixed in their beliefs and will argue it literally to the death in some cases. And here you are going, yeah, but I just want to connect with my mother or my husband. And, you know, can I do that? Like you look around you and you don't see a lot of support except maybe in spiritual communities, but even those communities don't have all the truth about this. So I just want to caution you, okay? Because even mediums, not all mediums believe that you can or should continue connecting yourself through the veil. They're happy to take your money to go see them, but they don't necessarily accept or encourage you to do it yourself, let alone continue the relationships. Okay, so I just want to warn you because some of you here for the first time. Alan was a psychic medium for 35 years or so, and I'm more of a channel, but I lived in that world and I have talked to spirit and I do talk to them. They're talking to me right now, and they're saying, yeah. They would say that a lot of medium, not all, there's always exceptions. A lot of mediums don't know what they're talking about when it comes to the afterlife because there's so many more mediums now than ever before. And they say that a good half to maybe two-thirds of them are rather inept or not experienced at all. Even if they do talk to spirit, they don't understand the true reality of the other side. Okay, so people just think if you're a medium, you know everything, but that's not necessarily true. Okay. So if you're watching this and it's and it's only a day or so away from our master class and you haven't signed up, why aren't you signed up? If there are replays for every session, you'll get them in your inbox. And they will be posted also in the pop-up Facebook group that we created. We make it really easy for you to get this information. At some point, it will be here on YouTube, but I don't know when that will be. And if you're watching this months or years later, you'll go, oh, does she have this masterclass on YouTube? Look around. We'll have it somewhere. Say, okay. And because we are going to help you connect. This is the whole purpose of our work. And for some of you new to our work, I understand you don't completely get it. What? Her husband died and he's on the other side helping? Yeah, I know. That's a big thing to take in. Like, what? But all we ask is you give it a try. That's what most of the people work with us now did, who some of them are commenting in the live chat. Like they know, they probably all the first time they heard of us go, really? Like, is that really? So that's why we're teaching by donation or here on YouTube for free, because this information needs to get out. There's too many lives at stake. There's too many people don't want to be here anymore because their loved one is gone, or so they believe. And that couldn't be more wrong. They don't go anywhere. Yeah. And someone just said in our the chat about a family member being Catholic and being scared to connect with their loved one because of their religion. And that's also the unfortunate thing, that there's so much negative beliefs about the afterlife and connecting from religion. Okay. And all we can say to that is, you know, I don't know. If it were me, I've seen this happen to people. They step through that. They go beyond that because in some cases, those same people start having contact. So can you imagine being somebody who's, let's say, a fundamentalist Christian, and they really believe this is work of the devil or something, and they start feeling their partner, their husband, and they know that's their husband. They just know it. They can feel them or even talk to them or whatever. I've seen cases like this. And because our world is going to call you crazy and label you and some maybe even threaten to lock you up, people are just going to shut down. But when you have that happening to you, you go, "Okay, I know I'm experiencing something," and that's when people start to think, "Maybe I am crazy." But you know what? You're not crazy. You know why you're not crazy? Because crazy people don't worry that they're crazy. That's the truth. If you're really crazy, you don't worry about it at all. You just say da 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 da, and but the paradox is when you really know the truth, then you won't believe you're crazy too, right? When you come up, but you at least go through that initial thought. Well, is this for real? Am I making it up? Am I going nuts? That's the sign that you're sane. And then if you work through that and go, God, this is real. And now I know I'm not crazy. That's a whole different story. So I know it's not easy. And that's why we're teaching for free. And this is the promise we made almost like the week after Alan passed, and we created a Facebook group, Soulmates in the Afterlife, which we now, by the way, have opened it up to everybody who's lost a loved one, who wants to connect with a loved one. So look for it on Facebook, unless for some reason Facebook has blown up, because maybe it'll blow up at some point. I don't know. Everything changes, so who knows? But for now, we're on Facebook in the Soulmates in the Afterlife group, and we are supporting people there, supporting people here on YouTube, supporting people in our academy program, which will be by donation basis. Even if I have to go get a second or third job to support myself, that's a promise I made to the other side when they asked me. And I've always done what I was guided to do. And it's always brought me blessings. And it even saved Alan's life. And some of you know this story, that they asked me to get a job that I couldn't understand why I wanted to work as a mortgage broker, but it ended up giving us insurance that we never had in the years we were married, because we're self-employed as professional psychics and channels. And that medical insurance allowed Alan to get a heart bypass operation and saved his life, because we wouldn't have gotten him to the doctor if we hadn't had insurance. So I had an extra 18 years with him because he got that operation. And so I know that the other side is always guiding us and will take care of our needs, not necessarily give us what we want, because that's not the same thing, but they will always be sure that we have what we need, that we're safe, that we're secure, that we have enough material things that we need. Abundance is not always about money. It's about being able to do what you need to do when you need to do it. I've always had that. So let's take a few moments here, because I promised the other side that I was going to guide you in something. All right. And try to do that in every session. So if you can, close your eyes for a moment, because as we've been talking about this subject, you can be sure that your loved ones and your guides on the other side have pulled in closer. They're always with us. But what happens is when we talk about this, now we're kind of inching closer too, aren't we? Because we're talking about it. And in our heart of hearts, we wanting to merge more with them. So in doing that, they're able to come in closer, able to be more, let's say, experienced in some level. And this is why I am such a believer in group work, in coming together. And that's why the master class, I know, is going to be a powerful way for people to connect, even if you watch it later, even if you watch the replay, because in the spirit world, there is no such thing as time, really. So when you watch it later, when I watch me guide you through things and teach you things, it's going to happen in the now. They're going to be there with you in the now. You don't need to be with us in the live class. In fact, in the live class, for at least for the first so many days, you won't be able to even like interact with me very much because I'm gonna be presenting, but you can experience them. So let's get you into that place as best we can right now. So close your eyes and set the intention, because intention is everything. Setting intention is asking for what you need and want. Okay, you're saying, I intend to connect with my loved one. Or maybe if you're watching, you prefer a spirit guide or your angels, that's fine. You can substitute that. Set your intention of who you want to connect with in the spirit world. Hold that intention in your mind. And if it's somebody in particular that you want to connect with, I want you to do your best to see them in your mind or to sense them with you. Okay, you don't have to see them visually in your mind's eye. It's okay. Just know that your intention to connect with whoever you want to connect with immediately brings them to you, because we're all connected. It's impossible for them to not be there. Whether it's a question of whether you perceive it right now, but with practice you can. So just focus your intention, see or feel them in your mind, know that they're here in some way, whether you perceive them or not. Open your heart, and I want you to feel the love you have for them. And if you're struggling with that right now, think of it could be somebody who's still in a body that you love. Maybe it's your child. Maybe it's your parent. I just want you to connect with love, the love that you feel, again, for either your loved one in the spirit world, can even be your angels, can be someone who's in a body. I want you to feel that love that you feel. And some of you may be struggling, maybe because of trauma. You go, I don't know if I feel love. I want you to imagine you do. I want you just to imagine, set your intention, and be in your heart space. And we're calling in your guides, your angels to support you. You can even ask them for help. You can say, angels, please help me feel love for myself and others. And all you have to do is be willing to ask. And then just trust what happens next. And let that love spread through your body. And you might feel that love as warmth, as tingles, as goosebumps. It might feel like it's pulsing. And we're asking your guides, your angels, and your loved ones to strengthen, expand, grow this love, to let the flame of this love burn bright. And if there's someone you're wanting to communicate with on the other side, especially someone in spirit, imagine that you're reaching out to them with your thoughts, the thoughts that are carried by the love you have for them. And I want you to imagine that they're responding to you. It might not be in words. It might be in a sensation. It might be in a symbol. It might be in a song. And just trust whatever you experience. Remember, it's about having no fear, no doubt, no expectation. All you need to do is accept whatever happens next, even if you don't understand it. If you don't understand it, just say to yourself, I don't know what I experienced, but I know I experienced something. And even if you didn't experience anything, you just say to yourself, I'm not sure if I noticed anything. I'm sure I will next time. What I'm seeing on my end, as I connect with all of you, is they're showing me these waves and waves of love, like almost like a waterfall of love and light pouring down from above. But it's not only from above, it's very interesting. It's like it's coming from all directions, like it's surrounding us, like we're swimming in this sea of love and light and acceptance and oneness. I invite you to hold this experience in your mind, in your heart, in your body. Take it all in and ask yourself, am I really connecting with the spirit world now? And put that question to your heart and trust what your heart tells you. Does that statement feel like your truth? If it does, you might feel a warmth. You might feel, again, a tingling. You might feel a shift in your energy, like you rised up a bit, like, your energy just kind of lifted up a bit. Might not be sure, and that's okay too. Because some of you are just starting with this. So you have to give yourself some leeway. Just feel into it. Trust your experience. And do you feel a shift? Make a promise to yourself that from now on, you're going to trust what your heart tells you. Your heart is connected to your soul, to your psyche, not your mind, not your brain, your heart. Your heart's connected to your higher self. Your higher self speaks to you in terms of passion, excitement, curiosity, interest, fascination. And now let's bring you back and be sure that you're grounded. I want you to imagine, see, or feel that you're letting go of any energies that do not belong to you, turning it over to your guides and your angels, and they're lifting it up and out of you. Right? Just turn it over to them. That's their job, to help you clear. And as they take these energies, patterns, thought forms, what have you, and lift them from you, now I want you to feel yourself connected to the earth. Imagine you're putting down roots through your bottoms of your feet, Or you might imagine a column from your spine. Some people like to use the spine, some people like to use their feet. It doesn't matter. The intention is what matters. So set the intention to ground. And you're connecting to the earth because your body is made of earth energy, but your spirit is made of cosmic energy. Spirit, right? You're a spirit, but your body is of the earth. So ground your body to the earth. Plant yourself firmly to Gaia, to Mother Earth. If you need to, you could put your feet on the ground, whether you're sitting, in a room with a rug under your feet, it doesn't matter. Put your feet on the ground and set your intention to connect, to be one with the earth. And open the top of your head. Just imagine a doorway, a portal, you're opening it, sending out your intention to connect with cosmic energy that is perfect for you in this moment, at this time, and bring that cosmic energy down through your head, down into your body, okay? Feel it coming down through your head, down your neck, down your chest, down your arms, down to your stomach, down to your pelvis, down your legs, down to your feet. Feel that cosmic energy mixing with that earth energy that is your body. And bring the palms of your hands together, rub them together so that you're making contact with your body. And then when you're ready, open your eyes. And then let me know in the chat, and better yet, in the comments, because the chat will kind of go away. But let us know in the comments what you experienced. And know that every time you do this, and I do recommend you come back and watch this again, like the last bit of this video again, because every time you do a meditation with us or with anybody else, anything you do, you're always going to have a new experience because you're constantly growing and changing and evolving. So you cannot have the same experience. That's impossible. So every time will be new. In a sense, every time will be the first time because it's the first time in that time, right? That's how it is. So you say, oh, I did this meditation before. Okay, yeah, you maybe went through it before, but now you're different. So it's going to be a new meditation. It's going to be a new exercise. It's impossible for you to duplicate it. Have you tried? Have any of you tried? Like, let me try having that same experience again, whether it's a meditation, whether it's, I don't know, a night out with your friends, like anything, like it's trip did you take like a vacation? Like, no, it's always different. You go to the same place, do the same thing with the same people. It's always going to be different, isn't it? So Debbie says it felt like something was hugging my heart. Okay. And Lisa says that was so beautiful. I could see and feel him better after this. Great. So come back and do this again. Yeah. Let's come back and do this again as many times as you want to. Okay. So that's all we have for you today. Subscribe to your channel if you haven't done so already and join our masterclass. Join a masterclass if you haven't already. Okay. And if it's the time has passed, look for the video because we will put it up. But connect, all right? Don't listen to anybody telling you that I crack up when people say, You can't talk to the dead. Okay, well, I don't know. Me and lots of people I know have been doing that for 35 years. So, okay, I'll live in my reality. You live in yours. Alvin just laughs. He goes, people should just stay in their own lane. It's really okay. It's really okay. So just you stay in your lane. You stay on your train, your bullet train to heaven, right? Who cares what other people think? Funny, they want you to care about what they think, but we don't care, right? Yeah, because people who doubt this, he says they're just not ready, and we have to honor and respect them, and I do. I don't I just laugh. I just I just think, really, you're wasting your time trying to convince us. You're 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 not going to get anywhere. So, practice connecting. You can do it if you believe, have no fear, and you let go of your expectations of how it's going to unfold. That is actually the recipe for the highest experience because you're letting the other side do its thing and you're not interfering. We just make things harder than they need to be. So it requires trust and faith. And I think being part of a group, a community is the secret because you need that backup. You need to be part of a soul family, a tribe, if you will, of people who get it. Because the rest of the world, sorry, they're not going to get it. Let's just make that clear. Most of humanity is not ready for this. So we can't expect them to be. Okay, so you got to draw in closer to the people that do understand and stay true to you. Be the love and the light that you are. All right. See you next time. Bye-bye.